You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
Before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you a little bit about our current sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. As you well know, if you've been following This is Oklahoma, they've been a huge part of this podcast. So this podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Also, for the podcast, a new sponsor this year that's just come on board and super excited to announce RCB Bank. Since 1936, RCB Bank has offered progressive products and a friendly service. Come in today to find out more about their loan promotion on new, used, refinance cars, boats, campers, and ATVs. Visit RCB Bank to learn more. RCB Bank, that's my bank. With approved credit, restrictions apply. Now, let's get into today's episode. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode down at our Bedford studio today with Eddie Radosevich. I mean, if people don't know you, franchise morning radio show, 6 to 10, but 2020's OKC Influencer of the Year has to be the biggest thing on your resume. Absolutely. Mate, thanks for coming into the podcast studio.
Thanks for having me, man. It's I've been looking forward to it, for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to share some stories. So everyone can go to your Twitter account and, you know, pure comedy, but a lot informational comedy, I will say.
Sure.
But it's brilliant, and Twitter's been, I'm sure, such a great platform for you. But before we dive into all that stuff, I guess take us all the way back. Like, you know, school, growing up, like, where does it start?
I'm born and raised here in Oklahoma City, and then Will Rogers, Putnam City School District. So Will Rogers Elementary, Hefner Middle School, and Putnam City North High School. Yeah. And then I went to OU right after that. So it's Mercy Hospital, just been around.
Yeah.
Been around the OKC area.
So growing up in the OKC area, obviously been here a lot longer than I have. You've seen everything, you know, the Thunder coming here and everything, just the whole deal. Growing up, were you like super into sports then?
Yeah, definitely. I grew up in a family, you know, season ticket holders for OU football. So I kind of developed the fanship or whatever you want to call it there. Grew up on the hill over at 89er Stadium doing that thing. And it just, it's always been a passion of mine sports-wise. And luckily enough, I kind of fooled some people to get me into the business. So, you know, went to broadcast journalism school at OU. And like, I think every kid's dream is to be the ESPN Sports Center anchor, whether it be Stuart Scott or, you know, I guess maybe not Keith Orbelman as much anymore, but, you know, Scott Van Pelt, all those guys, grew up on them, grew up watching it before school and thought I wanted to do that, and kind of had an opportunity to stay closer to home and cover OU football, which has always been a passion of mine. So kind of got lucky in that regard. Yeah. But it's definitely been fun. I've been lucky.
In high school then and growing up, were you always like calling in play-by-plays and games, or were you more in the stats or just in general?
A little bit of all of it. I mean, I was the kid that would have like the Major League Baseball standings in my room and would keep them up to date every day, you know, with scores. And then, you know, never really was an NBA fan until the Thunder got here, or shortly before the Thunder got here. And, you know, of course, when Katie and Russ and all those guys came, it kind of fell into a little bit of a love. And it had to be. And it's just been a whirlwind, I think, since then. So
going to OU for you was like it was kind of written on the wall, I guess.
Yeah, like, I mean, my parents always joke that was probably the only school they would have paid for. I mean, of course they would have paid for somewhere else, but I only applied to one school coming out of high school. And, you know, I think every kid that grows up in Oklahoma or Oklahoma City wants to go to OU or OSU. And lucky enough to get into OU and had an incredible time, incredible experiences as far as, you know, doing stuff with ESPN and ESPNU. And I think that was kind of the first time that it was a little bit of a, I don't know, legitimacy as far as what I wanted to do, and realized I could do it. And just kind of snowballed after that.
Yeah. So when you get to OU, do you already think I'm going to go into broadcasting straight away? Do you already made your mind up?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it kind of became one of those things that I started working for Rivals.com when I was in school and trying to get my foot in the door, and started networking through that tunnel, I guess, and then met Kerry Murdoch, who owns Soonerscoop.com and works for the Sports Animal, and it just kind of became like a thing, like, this is what I want to do. And then when I graduated, it was kind of like you can join Sooner Scoop, and got lucky enough to do that. And I had enough video experience that through the broadcast stuff that I was able to kind of, I guess,
Which
fool
is
everybody.
so hard to do. Like, if people
No, it is.
listening that don't get it, like, or might not understand it, or have never been around it, you try putting yourself on video, talking to a camera. Like, then I have so much respect for people who read the news.
Oh, I mean,
it's so hard to do.
I work in radio every day, and I hate the sound of my voice, or
It's a
going
skill,
back and
a real
transcribing
skill.
about it,
Yeah.
or anything like that. It's just like, it's tough, but you get used to it, I think. And
Yeah.
I guess through that, like, weirdness, you kind of develop a confidence about yourself, and that's probably the best thing that you need is a little bit of confidence, and not like an ego as much as a confidence, but I guess it doesn't hurt to have both.
Yeah, definitely. And it can come across as ego sometimes,
Sure.
doesn't it? But at the same time, you have to have that to perform,
Yeah.
to speak the way that you have
Definitely.
to speak. Otherwise, there's nothing worse than watching someone read the broadcast or be on TV or whatever, and they like can't get their words out.
Yeah.
Like, come on, bro. Like,
Yeah, and I mean, the Gambler
happens.
journalism school is so good.
Yeah.
Like, we had such, I guess, ample training as far as being on camera, being behind camera, and doing a little bit of both to where you can step out into the real world. And, if a TV station needs somebody to edit, you can edit on a bay, or you can shoot whatever you need to. And that certainly got my foot in the door with Sooner Scoop, because at the time they wanted to kind of add a video portion of it, and that was kind of the dawn of social media and all that. I mean, it's been 10 years now, so it makes me feel old at the same time, but it's been a fun ride. I mean, going to every OU football game for the last 10 years before the pandemic has been, it was a dream. It's basically living a dream every day.
Yeah. So do you know Royce Young then?
Yeah, I mean, I know. I don't know.
You at the same time?
I think he was probably about a senior by the time I was a freshman.
Okay.
So he's a little bit older, but same kind of circle as far as like knew Royce was going to go on and do big things when you read stuff in the OU Daily or whatever. You knew him and Baxter Holmes as well.
Okay.
You knew that they were going to be really good. So it's cool to see guys like that stay close to home and kind of do what they're doing now.
Yeah, we had him on last year sometime, and we were talking about like when he graduated and he didn't really know what he wanted to do, and they said, will you run our social media for us?
Yeah.
It's like the university wants me to, like, this was super early on.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, sure.
I mean, it's just insane, too, to see, like, I mean, he started basically from scratch doing the blog, and then one thing led to another, and it's just been, over the last, so much has changed in the last 10 years as opposed to even, or in comparison to the last 5 years. For these kids that are just graduating, it's incredible, and like I kind of came in at the right time, I think, as far as the way that everything was expanding with social media and everything as far as the internet age. So it's been weird. It's been fun though. I've been thankful for everything that's come this way.
Right, I'm sure, because I mean, for kids listening as well that like want to get and want to be you, or want to get to the jobs that you have and be on the radio. The platform's there, it's free now, right?
Sure.
You could have your own. There's so many people on Instagram now that like basically they're their own broadcaster.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then someone picks them up and now they're on ESPN or whatever.
I mean, it's incredible. And, another kid that I went to high school with, Andrew Schlecht, has kind of done the same thing as far as, started with the blog and then started kind of getting his foot in the door. And he's doing a great job with The Athletic now with the podcast
so
and stuff.
good,
So it's crazy, but at the same time, it's like you do have so many opportunities to be able to kind of control what path you want to go down, whether it be print or broadcast or digital.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's like, if you can't do all of them, you really kind of close yourself to some opportunities, I think.
And to that point, you mentioned being involved in video and the, the degree that you have. I didn't realize this, but that's just probably my naivety or whatever the word is. And Robin Marsh said the same thing to me when we did a podcast, was like, everyone who's around the broadcast can do everything.
Sure.
And that's such a value to have, but something obviously that you learned growing up, or learned in school, is that, hey, if I'm operating the camera, if I need to, I can be behind it, in front of the camera or whatever it is. Like, that's something that people don't know. I didn't. I mean, just was like, oh yeah, I'm sure they just.
Well, there's so many like television people too nowadays that are, they basically will send you out with a camera and a tripod, and they're like, all right, we need you to turn a package around, and you have to do it, or you got to rely on yourself to be able to do it. And there's so many schools that put you in good position to be able to do that now too. It's truly incredible the way that everything has kind of come together in a way, but at the same time, it's all kind of spaced out. And I think that a lot of that has to do with social media and just the kind of the reach that everything has had, as far as, being able to get out in front of something and say, this is me, and you can kind of show anybody. Like, a bunch of my opportunities, especially the radio stuff, has come because of a Twitter presence. And, 10 years ago, nobody I would never have thought that I'd be in the position I am today.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, 27 are we at now? 27? You probably don't check. I don't check. I know that for sure. But when you get to like 20, I think it's 27. I looked this morning, and it's probably hyper-local as well.
Yeah,
which is great.
For
which
sure.
is
And
really good.
I think that's like the best part about it is like there are a lot of people that know me, as kind of the funny guy, and they also don't know that I do cover Oklahoma football. Like there is a serious, it's a very serious venture, and especially because it's around here, there's such a great passion for it too.
Yeah.
And I think that has definitely been one of those things that has helped, just because people love their sports around here. I mean, it's insane.
College football's like, for me, like being back home, college football's nothing.
Yeah,
not even close to compared to here, right? Or I mean, any college sport, and you come out here and you have millions of eyes on your team, on just every sport, not every sport, but big sports, and there's a fandom there for everyone. You got football, gymnastics. The golf team has been great recently.
Absolutely.
And, basketball as well. Like, people are watching this, and the fact that we don't have an NFL team is great. Yeah. For that as well. But you're right. Like, you're brought up and you're taught in this place that if you go to a NBA or an MLB team or ESPN or whatever it is, it's comfortable, right?
Yeah,
like it's not a massive step.
No, and I think that's kind of unique in that it's a blue blood program as far as the passion and the fan base, and kind of if you don't win every game, it's the end of the world. Everybody's thinking the sky's falling in, and it also has helped though over the last 8-9 years, Oklahoma's been really good, and they've had national names with Baker or Jalen Hurts or Kyler Murray, and been in big games, and I've been able to network and kind of meet people through that, and even on the basketball side with Buddy Hield or Abraham Answer, even when I was in college. So it's a good spot. I mean, it's crazy to think what kind of what you said at the beginning, just as far as growing up in Oklahoma City, going down to Bricktown, and it was like Spaghetti Warehouse and some empty buildings,
right?
And now I live downtown. It's like it's insane. Right. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah. So you're at OU. What is like when you do the ESPNU stuff, right? And there's a great clip on your Instagram where they're asking you your thoughts, and you probably look at that, you're like, I'm a child in that video.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Super young,
I mean, it was super incredible, and they were so good. The guy that was in charge of his name was AC Wyatt, and like the ESPNU program was unbelievable. And if nothing else, just to say, yeah, we had that opportunity. Yeah. We called the game on ESPN. The girl that I did it with, actually, she works in an NBC affiliate in Connecticut. And it's incredible the way that everybody kind of went in their own directions, and they're all still very successful and finding ways to, kind of live in media, which isn't always the easiest thing, especially here, as of late.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. So you graduate and they offer you a job with Sooner Scoop, which you've kind of already been doing.
Basically
stuff with
started
anyway.
Right out of college, and it was kind of crazy because I was doing some work for a guy named Jeremy Crabtree, who was basically the recruiting director at the time in Kansas City, and he loosely had some connections back with Kerry and Josh McQuistion and Sooner Scoop, and like he was giving me numbers of kids to call. And it was West Coast kids, so I could, get schoolwork done, which in college you're not doing much of schoolwork at late night. But, I remember calling kids and it wasn't on the West Coast, but like Cam Newton coming out of JUCO when he was getting recruited, and, various guys out on the West Coast that ended up at USC. And it was almost kind of surreal in the fact that I think you had to kind of, I guess, show up, and you had to be ready. And I think that, even if it wasn't a personal one-on-one connection, you were able to kind of develop confidence in asking questions to people that you don't know.
Right. Yeah, because it's just you get used to it, don't you? Get comfortable in it, especially when you do your research and you know a lot about it and you're passionate about it. You feel like you can have a conversation with anyone about what they do, right? And you have to do your research, because then if you don't, the guy knows obviously that you hasn't. If you're interviewing Cam and you're just like, oh, you clearly have no idea.
I will say Cam Newton never answered, and I called him it's almost like you're stalking somebody, but that was, I guess we probably know why, with the Auburn and situation, the way that went down with his dad, but it was still really cool. I still have those notebooks. It's stuff that I'll hold on to forever.
Yeah. So how long do you're at Sooner Scoop, does the radio thing happen straight away? How does that all go?
No, we started a podcast probably, we got into the podcast game probably 5 or 6 years in with Sooner Scoop. It might even be less than that. And we, obviously because of the following with Oklahoma and because of the following with Sooner Scoop, we had a good base. And I think that kind of enhanced the Twitter presence. And really the radio thing didn't come about until, I guess the franchise has been around for, God, I think 7 years now. And really it only came around in the last 2 years, just as far as, being on the program. And, I credit Mike Steely a lot for bringing me in and kind of taking me under the wing. And, then the pandemic hit like 6 months into the radio gig, and they had to make some tough decisions up there and, some personal decisions for some people that were on air as well. And it ended up like basically going into work one day and saying, this is how it's going to be. We want to keep you around. Yeah. And you and Todd Lismy are going to host a show from 6 to 10 in the morning. And that was kind of like the first, like, holy crap, I didn't really sign up for this. And I didn't know if I wasn't ever going to step away from it because it was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in radio. I wanted to have that presence in Oklahoma City. But at the same time, it's like, can you host a show from 6 to 10? My only experience really in radio was doing like KGOU stuff, which is a small OU radio station that my parents and aunt and uncle probably listened to when I was on. Like
you have
nothing compared to
4 hours of content.
No, not at all. Yeah. And especially, me and Todd knew each other, but we didn't really know each other. And I think that through the pandemic with no sports going on, it kind of helped. It was like, we're going to have to come in here for 4 hours and talk about something every day. And I think that really kind of developed a little bit of a rapport and a relationship and kind of a starting point for what we have now. So it was kind of, it was obviously a terrible situation for a lot of people, but at the same time, it was almost like this, I'm very thankful for it. And that's why, even 2020 is like, it was awful for so many reasons, but professionally, it was amazing for me.
Yeah. It's.
And I hate to say it
no,
that way.
You're not the only person that said that. There's a few people that have been on the podcast that have said the same thing. We've had Culture Coffee on you recently, and they said the same thing, that it was a time where if you're an entrepreneur, you're in a business, or you're starting a business, or you're new to a position, it's a time where you kind of have more time to buckle down and get into your craft, I guess. Yeah. But you're right, it was terrible for the majority. But for some, and I've been fortunate, it's been great for me in the podcast. It's just, it gives you more time to do things. And I guess there's, you're just more free, I think, to do stuff. And it was, I think people are more willing to go out to do stuff as well because they have more time.
Oh, right? Absolutely.
So they listened more. They didn't drive to work. They listened on the radio when they woke up, right? Instead of
no doubt
in their car for 20 minutes.
And I think that it also too, I think that there was a lot of, introspective looks at kind of everybody in life, just in general, and as far as having more real conversations, having more meaningful conversations with people. And, I definitely would never say that 2020 was good, but it definitely, I think, was it's a lot of maturing and growing and all that. Yeah.
So obviously being a Sooner Scoop, being a lifelong OU fan, family, just deeply rooted in OU, there had to be some moments where you were just like, how am I here? Like, how has this happened?
Yeah, definitely developing relationships with coaches that, I was in 8th grade when Bob took over, or 7th grade when Bob took over. And, I would never say that I have a close relationship with Bob as far as, outside of work or anything like that. I like somebody like a Kerry Murdoch would, or somebody
tequila and stuff like that.
Hey, believe me, if they want to send over some of the rock and roll, that I will try. But there definitely were moments, going down every Monday to a press conference or just being on the field for the last 7 years for every game doing video stuff. It's been quite a ride, especially when we do go to places that to cover OU, whether it be an Orange Bowl or a semifinal game or a Big 12 championship game, or just even doing like small real radio hits. It's been crazy, and I do think that because I grew up an Oklahoma fan, I do understand where a lot of people's passion comes from. But at the same time, you got to be professional about it, and you can't be I would never want to be labeled like the OU homer guy that, was going to pick OU to go 13-0 every year. They're going to go to the Final Four. They're going to go to the national championship. They're going to go to Omaha or Oklahoma City for softball. But, for what I do and for Sooner Scoop, when OU's winning, it's good for business. I'll be the first one to tell you that. And, I have developed, good relationships with people in Stillwater and Austin. And so from a professional standpoint, it's been a lot of fun. And from a personal standpoint, you would have told 8-year-old Eddie that, when his parents are, dragging him in to go to a mid-90s game when they're going to get their ass kicked. Yeah. It's definitely turned a corner. So it's been fun. I've been very thankful and blessed for everything that's come along the way. And the future that's to come.
Well, and you get to build, to that point, you get to build relationships with guys, when they're learning their craft, right? They're learning everything. They're kind of earning their stripes, I guess, and then they get drafted, and then they go on to do amazing things. I mean,
and
there's
from
so
a rival standpoint too, with what we do with high school kids, like I remember, Caleb Kelly's going to be a 6-year senior at OU this year.
Yeah.
And I remember going out to California to cover him in high school. So I've known most of these kids, and especially over the last 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
Everybody that's come through here, I've seen in high school at least once, or seen their videos in high school, or we've gone and sent somebody from Sooner Scoop to interview them, and it's incredible to see just like how far back it goes, and I feel very old talking about some of those guys. But seeing Samaje Perine in high school, or anybody that is Kyler, or anybody that's gone off to do professional stuff, it's been kind of incredible to see just the development that they've been able to go through, and even some of the coaches that have come through here and now are doing their own thing. It's really cool.
One of the things that when Royce came on, he was talking about was like, we asked him, like who won't speak to you, or who doesn't, like who, building a reputation, and but I think it's totally different in college, right? Because at NBA level or that elite level, they don't have to answer your questions, and the questions can be pretty tough.
Yeah.
But as I guess college, you're just kids, right? So you,
for the most
probably
part,
a different question.
Yeah, like you're probably not going after as many people from a college perspective, because they are student athletes, because they're there to get an education, if you will. So it is different. You probably wouldn't go after a Lincoln Riley the same way you would Scott Brooks from the back in the Thunder days. But at the same time, I think there is a certain level of respect that a lot of people have for just kind of the way that you carry yourself, and especially with how social media is, because they can see everything. And as much as they say that they don't, people see stuff, people read stuff, and vice versa. I mean, we hear stuff that that they would probably say about us. So it's cool in that regard. But you definitely probably don't have the personal relationship like maybe a professional would with a professional athlete, as opposed to a kid that's in college.
Yeah. Do you think, like, you being on social media and your Twitter presence, do you think that's helped you, like with the kids and stuff,
100%.
Because they think it's hilarious as well? And
some of the stuff that I would ask Baker, he knew was coming. And I mean, he would, if somebody else would ask it, it probably wouldn't go over as smoothly, or be able to joke around. And I guess sometimes I take advantage of that, and sometimes it's probably not the best thing, or for the right setting. But you kind of got to pick your spots and know when you can get away with something and when you can't. Like you wouldn't ask it after they got beat in the national championship game or something like that. But it's different for sure, and they know, I think.
Cool. Well, we're recording this on Masters Monday.
Absolutely.
We have to talk about the Masters.
Yeah.
What I want to know, though, is what are your thoughts on Scott Verplank on the old live commentary? Did you catch that?
I didn't catch it.
He was on the live, like Masters.com. He was doing the live commentary from like 4 through 6.
I didn't even realize that's who that was.
Yeah, it was Scott.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was, whoever sounded professional, and then it was Scott. And not to say that Scott doesn't sound professional, but there's a difference between people who have been a career on the radio.
Sure.
Like probably that we're listening now. I do not sound career on the radio compared to you. That's how it was. But I texted, Scotty, and I said, hey, your dad, like, he's doing a pretty good job here. Like,
absolutely.
What is going on? And he said, he's trying to get into it. I think he's going to be doing, I guess, the Byron Nelson.
That's awesome.
in next month.
Yeah.
Masters thoughts. What do you think?
First off, it's one of the most incredible places I've ever been. I mean, it was a religious experience when I got to go with Steeling. We did our radio show from Augusta in the mornings, and then we would literally, take a bus down the street and walk across Washington and walk through the gates. And I mean, it's everything that everybody always talks about.
So you had a press pass all week?
Didn't have the press pass. We just had badges. We were doing a thing with Totally Tickets, basically, that they have badges, and they sponsored the trip. So we were able to go out. I was able to go to Wednesday of the practice rounds and see the par 3 course, and then Thursday just basically went the entire day, and Carson Cunningham from Channel 5 was actually... I recently
played golf with Carson.
No kidding. Okay, we went out there Thursday and basically spent all day with each other and just walked around. He was covering Victor Hovland at the time. It was 2019. And I think because Tiger won in 2019, it's that much more meaningful to me. Walking in, it's Tiger, JT, and Fred Couples playing a practice round. They were the first people I saw on the course. Yeah. And it's kind of like a, holy-s moment. Like, not only am I walking around the Masters, but it's Tiger.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool. And, just I think having been there, you just get such a better appreciation for everything that goes into it. And it truly is the Mecca of golf. And then, even if I hadn't been there though, it's you stop down and you watch from Monday through, Wednesday live from, or Monday through basically Sunday live from the Masters with that Golf Channel group. And it's truly one of the better weeks of the year, in my opinion. I mean, it's pretty cool. And then for everything to kind of tie back into 2021 with Hideki winning and, with Augusta National, with, the golf club probably not being the most welcoming place in the entire world. I think, that the fact that they sent or opened that tournament in 2011 for him to win the Low-Am and then come and actually play in it.
Asia Pacific, right?
Yeah. And, I just kind of for everything and for the Lee Elder thing on Thursday to bring it all together, hopefully a step in the right direction. And I certainly don't understand how big it is culturally for for a foreigner or even for a Japanese guy to win the tournament like that. And you go the week before with the women's tournament over there at Augusta and another Japanese gal winning that one. So it's kind of cool. I was happy for him. Like Saturday, it's like, I don't know if I want this guy to win because I wanted to see Spieth or somebody come from behind.
Dogfight too, don't you?
I wanted to see throw some real blows on the second nine on Sunday, but the way that it turned out, it's pretty special. And just see, I forgot who it was. It might have been Kyle Porter or somebody from CBS that put it out there, but just to see how important it is for each guy when they do win, and seeing him walk up 18 or walk off the green, and you can tell that he's tearing up a little bit. It's super cool. I think anybody that has even just gone and played a par 3 course would kind of respect where all that's come from.
Right. Yeah. And I said we watched it with some friends, and as he's walking up 18, I said to my buddy, I said, "What's the over/under on him crying?" And he's like, "There's no way. There's no way he's going to cry." Like it's, Japanese culture is very reserved, very respected, and there's no way. And as soon as he walked up 18, I'm like, there it goes. Yeah. And Dustin Johnson the same last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think when you see
when you see somebody like DJ do it too, stone faced, no emotion, you're never going to really get a good feel for what he's really thinking. And then when he does, it's like, these guys have worked their entire lives for that moment. And, for Hideki, I think that they were throwing out it could be worth up $1 billion when he goes back home. And I wish his family could have been there, but it's still really cool.
Yeah. And the gesture his caddy made.
Unbelievable.
He's almost more famous than Hideki is now for that gesture.
If you don't see that and get a little bit of chills, and for it to kind of come full circle with the way that things open with the Lee Elder thing and Gary Player's son doing his kind of weird thing at the ceremonial starting tee shots. It was cool that was the ending. That's what everybody's going to remember. And obviously the way Hideki played. I wish Xander wouldn't have hit it in the water on 16 though.
I was like, and I to this point, I told a friend the other day, and there's a giant fly flying around you if you're watching the video somewhere. I told a friend I think that Xander could be the new Ricky because he can't close.
Yeah.
And, and he starts really bad, and then he goes birdie 6 of the next 9, and you're like, oh my gosh, he's in the mix. And he's 2 back and then dumps it in the water. I'm like, no, it's just
to do all that work in birdie 12 and birdie 13, and who knows if things change, if he eagles 13, if he can make the putt,
anything.
But to birdie 14 and then 15 and get up and down out of the bunker, it's like you work so hard to get there, and then it just is gone. But I think it's 6 top 10 or top 5.
Oh yeah, his major record is crazy.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
I hope he finds a way to win at some point, because I think me and you know who Xander Schauffele is, but we were talking about this morning. It's I don't think the average turn on the Masters on Sunday probably realizes what kind of player Xander Schauffele is. Yeah. And it's cool though, and I think especially here, and you would know as well as anybody that the talent that we've had come through Oklahoma in the last 10, 15 years, and the talent that they do have right now, even down in Norman or Stillwater, or just down the street at Oklahoma City, it's it's a great state to play golf in. Yeah. And hopefully some of these guys can find some success in the majors. And, I think that the guys that are coming up through high school right now are going to be really good too. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Well, when you were there in 2019, they played, obviously, when we had the rain delay, I think, was it Saturday that they played some of the 2019 back nine, and Hovland's getting amateur, best am that week, and you're like, that was just 2 years ago, and now he's contending, like legit contending. It's
incredible, and just like not even Oklahoma. I mean,
look at but OU.
Yeah, the answer played well. Will Zalatoris, the kid that just had an incredible week there. It's just the amount of talent in young golfers is just like I would never be able to do it. I like going out and drinking beer and just hitting the ball around, maybe win a couple dollars from friends. It's like those guys, I mean, they've turned it into obviously a career and a life.
Yeah. How do you get, I guess, when you went down there with the Totally Tickets thing, was that just kind of a one-off, or is there a way to be a broadcaster and be like, hang on, like I would love to go? Obviously it's the hardest golf tournament to get to, but how does that work out?
They put out, like, I know Craig Humphreys has been doing it for 30 something years up until recently. He was able to go down there and work for Westwood One, and like the Masters, and I don't want to say they're crazy, but they're kind of crazy in that like you have to send them audio clips to show, to like,
justify
this is what I was doing while I was there, and they check everything. And I think Carson even had to send in like video, like his reels or whatever, as far as what he was producing. And I would love to go down there and cover it someday from an actual reporter standpoint. But just being in there, it's insane. And it truly is like, it's everywhere you go. It's like, wow, this is everything that you say it is. I mean, it's just incredible.
What was the pro shop like? What did you get?
Oh man, pull over. I mean, it's a scary deal because you can walk in there and they have like
$10,000.
Oh my gosh! Like there were people in front of me. Like I got out of there spending, I think and I bought some stuff for friends and family and stuff. But I think I got out of there spending maybe $600.
Yeah.
And I felt like I felt good, but there was people in front of me, spending $5,000.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's incredible because you don't have to carry all that stuff around. They have a FedEx thing right next door, and it's like, take it away. Yeah. And you don't have to worry about it. And a week later it shows up on your doorstep. So it's incredible. And it's everything that they tell you it is and then some. And we actually got into Berkman's place off 5. It's like a little kind of hideaway type thing. And for the elite of the elite, and we basically fooled some people to get in, and it's just a different world.
Yeah, I haven't been.
Absolutely,
I just can't wait to get down there. I bet it's interesting though for you. Like it's like you go as a fan, but then if you go for work, obviously it's two totally different experiences, and you probably just want to go as a fan.
Yeah, right? I think so. And it's. I would love to be there on a Sunday when it's packed, but at the same time, my cousin went a couple years ago on a Sunday, and he's like, as much as I love the experience, as much as it's a bucket list, something you have to do someday, they don't let any phones in on the course.
None, yeah.
So you're kind of out on your own. Like the only things that you hear are the roars, and then you check the leaderboard, and it's almost like a step back in time, if you will. I was doing radio hits while I was there on Thursday, and you don't have a watch. Like I didn't have a watch, so you need to take a watch. But the only way to like connect with the outside world is to go pick up a payphone. And you don't have to put money in or anything, but you just dial up, press 9 and dial up the number that you need. And it's like taking a step back in time, but in the real world.
Right.
And it's kind of cool in a way. It's like, as much as I love being on social media and as much as I love, tweeting and live tweeting events and stuff like that, it's almost like a sense of relief. Like I don't have to worry about that. I'm in this fantasy land for the next 7-8 hours.
Right.
And that's kind of the cool thing. And I think everybody that is there really kind of embraces that a little bit.
That.
Like it's truly just as special it was for me. It's even more special to the guy that has been there for 35 consecutive years. It's like a pilgrimage, if you will.
Right. Well, and there's so many little rules, isn't it? Like there's no running, and if you set a seat down, that is your seat.
Yes.
And like, the price of concession is really, really, really good.
You open, chips or whatever, and I'm not saying that I litter all the time by any means, but like you miss the trash can, you're like walking over there quickly just to make sure like I threw this away. Everybody look at this. This is mine. I'm throwing it away.
Yeah.
It's super like kind of weird, but I guess it could be seen as privilege, but it's just it's unique in its own kind of special fantastical way.
Yeah. So back to, I guess, current day. You said busy at the moment doing, camps are starting kicking off.
Yeah.
Like how does that look, and what's kind of, I guess, between now and, OU announced we're having fans, right?
Yeah.
Which is a huge deal.
Yeah, and it would be special because I think that, last year was so weird. As thankful as we were from just a professional sporting perspective
games.
to have games, to have stuff, because I think that, I think like kind of like everybody, as the NBA gets canceled and everything kind of starts ramping up, you were like, they can even play this year? And if they don't play, are we going to be able to sustain a radio station? Are we going to be able to sustain the site if nothing happens? But, luckily, I think that we're on the kind of the back end of it, hopefully, or progressing in the right direction. And camps are starting to fire up a little bit with high school recruiting. And, that's something that obviously never stops. And I'm thankful for that, just for the fact that people have a passion because of OU football. They follow it closely. And there'll be a bunch of camps that we got coming up. We had a rivals camp down in Dallas yesterday. And it's good to kind of getting back to, quote unquote normal, or whatever that normal is going to be. And we'll have camps. And then, I think that just like everybody else, kind of the summer is a little bit of that dead period. We got, baseball going on, and, with the Porter Moser hire, there'll be some basketball stuff that we have to do. But it's kind of weird, because it's like you blink and right after April with the spring game coming up in a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden it's August, and
go time.
You're ready to roll. And I think that there is kind of that down period where it's like you're thankful that you haven't had a whole lot, but you start getting restless a little bit, and you kind of, and especially I think this year, the anticipation, because you'll be so good, because there wasn't any, one-on-one contact last year as far as interviews and just seeing fellow colleagues and reporters and stuff that you see on a daily basis. Because, I think in kind of a weird way, it's like we develop a friendship, and it's kind of like a family, because you do travel every place together, and you do see each other Monday through Wednesday, basically, kind of while you're, I think it's unique in Oklahoma in that everybody gets along really well.
Yeah.
You don't see that at a lot of places, and it's competitive, but at the same time, we're all friends. We're all,
respectful.
There is a respectful, like, kind of understanding that, we, whether it be in Lubbock or Dallas or wherever on a Big 12 trip, like, we'll go out and eat on Friday night, and you don't see that a whole lot. So it's really kind of cool.
Yeah, you're right. That must be, it's like not like a super guys trip, but you get to travel with mates, and everyone's going to the same place,
Absolutely.
right? It's just like, let's just go hang out this weekend. We're all doing the same job. We've all got our jobs to do. We've all got our different contents to get, but it makes total sense. That's really cool.
It's unique, and like the Oklahoman guys and the Tulsa World guys and the Norman Transcript, and the various internet reporters from Jason Kersey from the Athletic, and all those guys. It's going to be fun to see those guys again. And we've seen each other on Zooms and stuff, but haven't had that one-on-one interaction with a lot of people.
You can't cliche clink beer glasses together and have a good time, and share dinner and bump elbows, and just kind of joke and laugh around.
No doubt, and just being able to get back out and do something that we all enjoy. We all love being at sporting events. We all love the crowds at games and stuff. As much as like fans can drive you crazy, at the same time, there's a reason they drive you crazy. It's because they love it, and they have a passion for it. And I think that that was one of the things that I really realized, even going back into college. I think that I took for granted when I was in middle school or in high school, and then, I grew up with Sam Bradford at OU or in high school, and seeing what he went through and seeing that from a friend lens as opposed to like the fan lens. I think it kind of gave me a better understanding that these guys are just people.
Yeah.
And meeting a Caleb Kelly or meeting a, whoever in high school, it's like, these kids are doing it because they love it. Yeah. And, we're kind of there for the same purpose as far as, just loving the idea of sport and competition and, just being out there. And I think that has been probably my biggest understanding or thing that I've learned the most is, of course people want to win every game, but it is just a game.
Right.
And there is a lot more out there as far as, how you treat your teammates, how you do all the small things. And I think that, for the most part, and you would know this through golf, it's like the way that you carry yourself, the way that you do things is going to be so much more impactful. And the people that do it usually the best they find the most success in the sport.
Yeah, you're right. It's
unless it's Tiger and he's doing
unless it's Tiger and he's doing whatever. Yeah.
But those guys are like, that's such like a just different.
It's way off, isn't it? Right.
Yeah, like being the best to ever do something. I think that everybody has their flaws.
Yeah, and growing up, there's when you never had a chance to, like when you're always in the spotlight, you haven't had a break.
Yeah.
I mean, there are reasons why he is the way he is, right? And it's nice. I think people now are talking about him, and JT seems to have a really good relationship with him. Like, he's laughing and joking around now, and he's like, oh, no, I got to hang out or whatever. But
it's kind of like Rory. Like, I think he's probably the most, like, down to earth. He will give you the greatest answer to any type of question you may pose, whether it be golf or outside of the golf course. And like, he thinks about it. He gives you an honest answer, and that's why I pull for him. I pull for guys like that. And at the same time, I'm about as big of a Tiger fan as you can meet. I will make excuses for Tiger.
I was too.
I think anybody was. I mean, it was incredible. And even when they were showing back the 2019 Masters, it's like, did that really happen?
Yeah.
Like, it really did happen. And to think that, and the guy's lucky to be alive. I don't know if he'll ever play golf again, but just being able to see him cultivate a relationship with his son and daughter too has been kind of cool. It's like the side that I think everybody always wanted to see, but you knew you weren't going to get that until his aura was kind of over.
Yeah. You wanted to see it like 10, 15 years ago, right? When he was doing great. And then now he's just, I mean, he made a comeback obviously, but I think it is great to see, and hopefully figures his life out and gets better. And I mean, love to see him play golf again, but who knows in 2010, I mean, less than that, 15 hopefully years, someday. His son's out there.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
He's on the bag or walking around.
That was crazy when he was playing in the father-son thing. It's like the mannerisms.
Like 5 foot, he hits like 3 feet.
Unbelievable.
You're kidding me?
Like, how does that even come about? But it is cool to see people like that kind of, I guess, mellow out, find their understanding in life. And, I think it was as meaningful as it was for Tigers fans. I can't even imagine what that meant for him to be able to walk up on 18 and hug his kids and his family. And it's crazy. It's absolutely nuts.
Absolutely nuts. I'll finish with this one. So for people listening who probably aren't as big a sports fan as you, or aren't in the middle of things as much as you, who for OU football is on the rise at the moment? Who have you got your eye on that's in maybe high school that nobody knows about yet? They're like, hey, this is going to be a name in 2 or 3 years. Yeah,
I mean, you can look at all the freshmen that are on campus. It's kind of crazy. Like, again, I don't want to be like the OU homer guy that's like going to set them up for failure, but
they won't listen to this podcast.
No, I mean, it's crazy. Like, the way that they've recruited over the next couple of years, it would be disappointing if OU didn't win a national championship. And I think that everything is kind of progressing in this upward trend in direction as far as the talent that they're bringing in. And I know it's kind of weird for people to hear that, and as much success that Oklahoma's had over the last couple of years, but they're starting to kind of close that gap between the big boys. And I think that, specifically in the defensive line ranks and the offensive line ranks, where you have to have guys. I think anybody that has watched the college football playoffs knows that, OU's had skill position talent, out the backside. So it's crazy to think that they could be better than what they have been. But, I think that David, any of the linebackers have been really good. David Awegbu has been really good. He's going to be really good. I think that, he's kind of fit into that mold where Kenneth Murray was a year ago or a couple years ago. And you saw the kind of career he's had so far as a rookie with the Chargers. Specifically in the defensive backfield, we talked about this on the radio show this morning. Specifically, it's like the talent that they've been able to recruit in, whether it be a Latrell McCutcheon or the Justin Harrington kid that came in a year ago and tore his ACL before he had an opportunity to get out on the field. Billy Bowman from Denton Ryan's going to be a really good player before it's all said and done. He can play both sides of the ball. Latrell McCutcheon's a kid out of the Austin area. That was a big win for Roy Manning and Alex Grinch. That was kind of like the moment that things kind of started turning in their direction. Like, you can go into Austin, a place that Texas is at, that you can go in and recruit those kids and kind of,
and have a legit chance to get them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Those guys are going to be really good on the defensive side of the ball. It's like the first time in a while that you can say, is the defense going to be better than the offense? And you look over there and they have, 4 or 5-star wide receivers right now. 3 of them have been on campus for a while, and Trajan Bridges and Theo Weiss and Jaden Hazelwood. And those guys, I mean, it's kind of a put up or shut up year for those guys as far as what they have. And I think over the last couple of years, specifically with the offense and what Lincoln Riley's been able to do since he even came in as coordinator in those first couple of years with Baker, is like they were putting up numbers that, I think Oklahoma fans just kind of didn't take for granted, but it was like, this is not normal what they're doing. The numbers that they're putting up, averaging, 11, 12 yards a play, it's like, when does this stop? And I think that, they took a step back, and, Rattler could end up being a better quarterback than all those guys. And that's just like it's insane to think that he's entering his third year in the program, second year as the starter, and all of a sudden he's the favorite to win a Heisman Trophy, and he hasn't really even played a whole lot, or found a lot of success, even though he has, and it's all kind of contingent upon like what the precedent was and what they put out there as far as the just astronomical numbers that they have, and it's exciting. It's an exciting time, and again, it's just like kind of right place at the right time, just as far as me getting into covering OU and Sooner Scoop, and we've grown because of the successes they've had.
Yeah, of course.
And it obviously hasn't been me; it's been everybody, with Carrie, Josh, and Bob, and all of us that have there is a lot of work, but at the end of the day, it's like I would love to be able to have an OU game day where I can go tailgate and drink with my buddies and see my family and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like it is a passion to be out there and be able to cover it and do a pregame radio show and do the postgame podcast that we do and that kind of stuff. And it's all kind of come together, but the next couple of years could be really special for Oklahoma fans.
Yeah.
I think that is probably. Right. It's kind of like a lot of things that are going around here, whether it be OU down in Norman or anything that's going on here in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, you're right. I think exciting is the great way to put it, because it's they've been. I mean, I've only been here almost 10 years now, but they've been like they get to the Final Four and then they lose. Like you don't expect them to get any further, right? You never expect them to get to that championship game, and if they have, you're like, oh, there's no chance, and all that. And then like they beat Alabama a couple of years ago, right? And that's like, whoa. Okay.
Yeah, and
there's like
that's
sparks, isn't there?
It's like the final check boxes. They got to get to a national championship, and I think that Lincoln is as good as everything has been, and I don't know anybody that is realistically out there complaining about what they put out as far as a football program. That's kind of the last box you got to check. You got to get to a national championship and really, really, truly compete for one.
Well, mate. Really appreciate you coming down.
Absolutely, man.
It's good to put face to face, right?
Absolutely.
And kind of hang out. Where can everyone follow you, and where can everyone just kind of see the hilarious Twitter stuff that you put
Twitter,
out?
That's kind of become, I guess, my baby in a way as far as everything that gets put out there. And again, as bad as social media is, as much as I hate it sometimes because of the obvious reasons, my career professionally has been that's like the baseline of everything that started. It's the platform that kind of gave me an opportunity to show my personality, show everything that my interest, and so Twitter at Eddie_Rado.
Cool. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Mike.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much. I'll post that in the description down below. People can go check that out straight away and start tweeting at you. I mean, Big Bread, Big Dairy, and BLC. That's all it's about, right?
Yeah, like that stuff is that stuff, and I credit my friends a lot because that's stuff that we're in a big, huge text chain group, and that's stuff that we always joke around about, and I just happen to have a platform to be able to expose it or joke around about it, but. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, and to do it here in Oklahoma City has been incredible.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you next episode. Cheers. This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Also, huge shout out to RCB Bank for jumping on board to be a sponsor. RCB Bank's loan promotion is here for a limited time. Head into any of their 40 Oklahoma locations to get as low as 1.79 APR on your next car, boat, camper, or ATV. Apply online at rcbbank.com. RCB Bank, that's my bank. Rate and finance with approved credit. Restrictions apply, and member FDIC. Huge shout out to my sponsors. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you next episode. Cheers.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.